Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And as you must be aware, we are having a series of videos related with power system protections, and and then we have been working with the ABB REF 630. Okay, and the idea of those videos, of this series of videos, is basically to understand how to use the relay, but in more practical way. Okay, in the previous video, I run work around the relay, showing you the main features about the 630 series, and then I went through different input and output of the ID, the REF 630. In the previous video, I showed you just the basic connectors at the rear of the relay, and also I present to you the screen or the human machine interface. Okay, but today the job is the next step. Today I will discuss some aspect related with the wiring, the power supply, and if everything is successful, at the end of this session, I will energize this ID, and we can see the starting up of this relay. Okay. Well, what is the objective today? Well, this section is dedicated to discuss the basic concept related with the power supply requirements of this ID, the ABB REF 630, in order to energize the ID. Okay. And before I start my explanation, this video is intended if you are a not expert user or not expert on installation of relays. Okay. However, the idea here is that you get a taste about the procedure and the most important aspects when you are installing and wiring and starting up an ID. Okay. uh, Typically, the students arrive to the lab and all the relays are connected, and you don't need to do any wiring. Okay. However, in this video, I would like to show you basic aspect that you need to take in account when you are working with protection. Okay. I know some of my students probably will go to work at substations and the relay are already installed over there. And in that case, in those cases, you don't need to care about wiring or power supply and so on. However, some other of my students, they will go to the field and probably they will work on installation or supervising the commissioning of those relays. And it's quite interesting, it's quite important that you have a basic understanding about how to install the relays. Okay. What I want to start to say, what I want to say is that every time that you are working with a protection relay or ID, it's very important that you read the manuals. Okay. In this case, we are talking about the 630 series, the Reliance series for protection and control from ABB. And ABB have a very good documentation. Okay. What I suggest is all of you, before doing anything else, the first manual that you need to read is the installation manual. Okay. You can download the installation manual if you follow the following link that I put over here. This is a public link from a library from ABB, where you can download the full installation manual for the 6.3 series. Okay, it's very important that if you are installing the relay as any other device, you must be aware about the functionalities, about the installation, and the installation manual is the best for that. Okay. The installation manual is quite useful because provides not only the electrical installation, wiring, and so on, also the mechanical. Okay. Something that is very important is beyond the electrical aspect, also you need to care about the mechanical installation. Okay. The cabinets and the screw that you need to use to install these. Okay. In this case, this user manual that you can download from ABB library is basically organized in a chronological order, okay? Starting from taking the relay from the bots, in a single inspection of the relay until the very end, that is the final wiring of this relay, okay? Another thing that I would like to say is, depending in the country around the world that you are located, but almost every single country requires that you have a proper qualification in order to run the wiring of this relay. Okay, wiring a relay can be a very risky situation. Okay, remember that CT and VT, they have they have low voltages below 600 volts, but is a risky situation, okay? And also some of those relays can have 125 volt DC, and that is a very risky situation, okay? For that reason, be careful. Just allow people with the proper qualification and the proper credentials to do the wiring, okay? Okay, if you remember in the previous video, I show you a workaround of the relay that we will be working, okay? And if you remember, we are working with the REF 630 from ABB, and this is a four unit rack units. You must remember that the size of the relays are typically expressed in what we call the rack unit, okay? The rack unit represent a distance that is 1 3/4 of inch. Okay, if we say one unit, that is equivalent to 1 3/4 of inch. Okay, that is around 44.45 millimeters. In this case, this is 4 units and half 90 inches case. Okay, what we are describing over there is the height and the width of this relay. Okay, and also you must remember that in the workaround in the previous week, I show you that in the case of this relay that we are using connectors. We are using connectors that they are located at the rear of the case, okay? In this case, we are using some sort of terminal block that they use a screw compression type, okay? And that is the reason that we don't need to solder anything for this device, okay? um, depending of the terminal that we are working, the wire that we need to use have a different specification. Okay, we have some wire for signals, some wire for CT and VT, some wiring for communication. Okay, as you can see here in this slide, if we are working with signals, we can use a single wire that should be between half and 2.5 square millimeters. If we are using CT and VT, that is the case that we need to use between half and 6 square millimeter wire, okay? Um, Here on the right hand side of this slide, you can see that is the bots. That is the bot for the 2RCA021735. That is the product ID for the terminal block of screw compression types that we use for this relay, okay? As you can see over here, you can see the bots, and over here you can see the product ID. This is ABB connectors that we use for this specific unit, the half rack unit, 19 inches. Okay, and as you can see over here, and I present last week, there are different connectors that we need to use. Okay, last week I showed you but basically in the physical ID. This is the rear view of the ID, and I remember that during the workaround I show you, for instance, this is the connector that we use for the grounding system, and here we need to use a flat wire. Okay, but This block connector over here with 10 different conductors that is used for the X101 and the X102. If you remember from my previous video, those white or light color block connectors that they are located here, they are using for the CT and the VT connection. Okay, that is the connector that we use for the measurements coming from the voltage transformer and the current transformer. That is location X101 and X102. Okay. Then we have this black connector that this is 18 cables position, okay? And we use those connectors, those 6 different connectors, one for H327, H321, 317, 319, 324, and 304, okay? This is basically the connector that we use for binary inputs, but also for outputs, okay? As you can see over here in the red box, that is the possible location of these 18 cables connectors, okay? And finally, we have very small connectors. We have H430, that is the auxiliary power supply that I will be discussing in the next sections. But this is a three-wire connector like the one that we are showing here on the right-hand side, okay? And for H4, you can see that we have a 4 cable connector, and that on the right hand side here, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is the connector that we use for the IRIC GB connector, okay? Well, what I will do now is having a short discussion about what is the power supply that we need to use for the relay, the ID that we are having at this moment. Okay? Well, if you remember, this is the ID that we are working. This is the REF 630. This is the ABB 630 series. If you remember, this is the relay, and this is the front of the case. Okay, and if you remember, this is the human machine interface. Okay, today what I will do is 2 important things. Okay, the first thing that I will do is coming over here, and I would like to show you more details about what is inside this relay, okay? Something that you must be aware every time that you have a relay, you need to be careful to have the full product order code, okay? Because the product order code will tell you what is inside the relay, how many inputs, outputs, and the pre-default characteristic of this device, okay? I will not go in full details over here because at the moment I only need just very basic information from here, okay? Later we will discuss more about this product order code, okay? But at this moment, what I need that you can see from here is that the power supply that we are using in this ID should be between 48 to 125 volt DC, okay? There are more information here regarding the voltage transformer and current transformer, but we will discuss that later. At the moment, what we need in order to start up this relay is basically the information related with the power supply. And from here, from this very information coming from the product order code, this is a 48 to 125 volts, okay? Also, if you look here at the top, that information is provided here again. Uh, I believe all of you can see that this is the product order code, and over here you can see the information related with the auxiliary voltage supply, and that is between 48 and 124 volt DC direct current. Okay, this relay is basically created or built in order to work with direct voltage between 48 and 128. Okay. More description about what is inside the relay can be found here. I hope all of you can see over here, but um, the different cards, the different boards that they are installed inside the relay are described here, but I will go later in details about that, okay? What I will do now is, okay, if we want to provide supply to this relay, what we need to do is use the connector, the H430, and define the wiring that we need to use here in order to energize this device, okay? And that is the job that I will do now. Well, now we are totally sure about the power supply that is needed for this REF 630. This very specific ID is designed for 48 to 125 volt direct current, okay? Now the next step is that we need to define the wiring connectivity, the wiring that we need to use in order to supply electricity to this ID, okay? If you go to the installation manual, specifically to section 5, connecting the device, you will find that for this very specific ID, again, the 4 rack unit has 19 inches. This device is using a 48 to 145 volts DC, okay? In this case, the terminal here, the H430, is used for the connectivity to the power supply, and the H430 is a three-terminal connector. Okay, and specifically for this ID, the terminals 1 and 2 are used for the voltage supply. Okay, I will repeat again. In this very specific ID, the 4 rack units have 18 inches. We use these 3 terminal connector, and the number is H430. The H430 is used for the power supply or the auxiliary voltage supply to the relay. And specifically, we need to take in account the terminal for 4301 and S4302. This is 2. Because those terminals define the place that we need to connect the cable from the DC supply, okay? Something that you must take in account is be careful, okay? Power supply for this ID is H430. Never, never, never use H329, okay? Don't make the mistake, okay? I know that this is a three-terminal conductor, but the one that you need to use for the power supply is the H430, okay? And specifically because we are using direct current, polarity is so important, and we need to define which terminal is the positive and negative. And again, if we are using the installation manual, section 5, they clearly establish that the terminal H4302, this one here in the middle, that is the connection point for the positive terminal, okay? Here we are using positive in red color and negative in black color just for your basic understanding about the polarity. Okay, polarity in the ID is extremely important. Again, don't confuse the connectors. You must use is H430. Please do not use under any circumstances H329 for voltage supply. That is totally wrong, and also you can harm the unit. Okay. Well, for this relay, for this ID, we need a DC supply. Okay. Um, I have been looking around in the market, and I try to find a solution that I can use for this as DC power supply. Okay. And I went to some suppliers and they sell to me this single output power supply. Okay, we are talking about, and the brand is Meanwell, and the product number is DR12048. Okay. Um, this is a photo that I took of the voltage supply. Okay, this is basically a single phase power supply. Okay, I select this power supply because it's quite compact, it's fanless. That means that it's less noisy, and this allow power between 45 watts and 480 watts. That is good enough for this relay, because if you look at the specifications, when you are using 48 volts for this relay, the power consumption should be around 75 watts. That means that this power supply is good enough, is oversized for this application, but it's useful for my case. Okay, and also I select this one because this device has the possibility of using a DIN rail that you can basically put on the wall of any cabinet, and that is also a plus for me regarding connection and location of this. Okay, here, as you can see, this is a top photo. This is a top photo for the power supply, the DR12048. This is a dual voltage supply. As we are here in Europe, we select the switch, or we put the switch in 230 volts AC. That means that the supply that is coming here, the AC supply line to neutral, should be 230 volts. And in that case, the maximum current that we can get from this is 2 amps, um, as regulated voltage between 200 and 240 volts. Okay. As you can see here in the bottom, you will find the three connectors: line, neutral, and ground. And on the top, you will find four connectors, but two of those connectors are for the negative voltage or negative terminal, and two of them are for the positive voltage. Okay, here is the circuit representation that I will use to show you the wiring of this ID. Okay. Well, coming back to the device, the supply power for the relay. Um, as you can see over here, I have an schematic. This is the top terminals over here for positive and negative. And on the bottom, you can see the line, neutral, and grounding connector. Okay. Well, what is the next step? The next step is we would like to provide supply to the ID, the REF 630. And what I am presenting here is basically the wiring that I need to do in few minutes in order to provide electricity to the ID. Okay. As you can see over here, this is the rear side of the ID. As you can see, I am using the terminal X430, and I am using specifically the wire at the terminal 1 and 2. The 2, we are using a red color wire, and it's going to the positive terminal of the power supply. And from the negative side, the negative terminal, the terminal with the label 1, we are using a black color wire going to the minus or negative polarity of this voltage source. Okay. In this case, we have over here a fuse, a DC fuse, in order to provide extra protection. The power supply has a thermal overcurrent and also short circuit protection, but I also include here a fuse in order to avoid to provide redundancy, okay? Here in the ID, we have a terminal that is required for grounding the case, the metal case of the ID and providing reference. And over here, we need a cable or a flat cable connected to the ground, okay? Here I am using the international color, green and yellow, in order to connect the ground wire, okay? Coming back to the power supply, as you must remember, this is the DC side, the DC supplied for the ID, but on the bottom we need to connect to the AC grid. That is the AC supply, okay? The line represented here in blue color is going to the power supply. Also, we have here the neutral, and we have in green and yellow, we have the grounding. Um, I have included here overcurrent protection, just also for security, in order to protect any kind of malfunction or fault that can happen for this power supply, okay? That is basically the connectivity that we need to do in order to switch on the ID. Okay, we energize the relay at this moment. And what you can see is that at the main screen here, you will get the information of the manufacturer, ABB, and ABB Corporation, of course, and the device is starting, okay? As you can see also the LID, the green LID for ready is blinking because in this moment the ID is starting up. And right now we have the relay uh, ready for operation, okay? The relay right now is ready. And at this moment, the ID is showing 0 amps and also several signals. You must remember that in this case, the relay is, the ID is not receiving any signal, any input signal, because we only connected the power supply, okay? That is the reason that at this moment, there are no display about any kind of information, okay? However, what I want to do now is I would like to show you here, this is the the human machine interface, but I would like to go to the main menu, okay? Here, when you press this key over here, this is the key that is going to the main menu, okay? At the top here, the first line here at the top, you will find what we call the path, okay? The path will tell you specifically in what menu or submenu you are located inside the interface, okay? And as you can see here in the main menu, you will find control, events, measurement, disturbance, records, settings, configuration, monitoring, tests, information, clear, and language, okay? Another thing that you must be aware is that this is the path that is the main area for the path, providing information where you are. But here, this is basically what we call the content. The content is the area that you will find the main information that you are looking for, okay? Then you have here a subsection in this bar, and this is the subsection that we call, this section here is what we call the status, okay? The very first beginning here you will find is the first information that you will find over there is basically the date, the time, and then you can find here what is the user that is connected at this moment to the relay, and basically here what is the ID that we are using, and we are using the ref 630. Okay. What I will do now in order to close this presentation is I would like to take note about what is the IP address of this relay, because the idea is in the next video I will start to connect this relay with the software that ABB have in order to get the settings and the information from the relay. Okay. To do so, what we need to do is something very basic, okay? We are right now in the main menu. You can see over here, this is the main menu. Okay, we are in the main menu, as you can see. And the next step is going to configuration, okay? Configuration is located over here. And to move to configuration, what I need to do is use the arrow and go down. Now we are located at configuration, then the right button, and you can see right now that we are main menu inside the configuration. And what we want to find here is communication, the third option, down, down, then right. And as you can see over here, we are inside main menu, configuration, communication, and what we need to do is going into the TCP IP configuration, right button, and what I will do is find the IP address that is used for this RG45 connector. This is the front port, and what I will do is right button, okay? And as you can see over here, you can see the IP address in this case is 192.165.0.254, and the submask is 255.255.255.0. Okay, now I will put this number on paper, 192.168.0.254. Okay. However, I believe that in the next video, instead of using this IP address, I need to modify this IP address in order to be connected to my private network here at the lab. Okay, and I will be doing so in the next video. Well, it's time to say that we finished the video today. Today has been a very successful video. I started presenting the wiring connections for this REF 630 in order to start up or energize this ID. Okay. At the very end of the section of the video, we energized the ABB REF 630, and we went through some of the menus. Specifically, I went into the communication, TCP/IP communication menu in order to collect the information of the IP address and the submask used for the front port, the Ethernet port that we have at the front of this ID. Okay. Um, this is all for this video. Today we learn how to wire the ID and how to provide power supply and specify the power supply for this ID. And we close the session by energizing the ID and collecting the IP address. Okay. In my next video, I will keep working with the hands-on on the ID, and we are looking into assess a mechanism to change the IP address of this device in order that I can connect into my private network. Something that you must do when you are installing the ID inside one substation with a private local network. And then we will go to use the software that ABB provide in order to collect the settings or also collect data from the ID. That's all for today. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you learned something from this. And again, I would like to say thank you, ABB, for your strong support and providing support for my research and my teaching activities. Thank you very much to everyone. Please leave your comment below or send me email for any question. Thank you very much. Bye now.